Welcome to phase 2 of the build. We've gone ahead and we've soldered all of our resistors and our LEDs together, and we put them color coordinated into this pillbox here. What I want to go over now is some cautionary stuff and then what we're going to be using for the next part of the build. Many of you know carbon fiber is electrically conductive. That is going to be a problem if you're using carbon fiber blades versus plastic, and what we want to show you is even on the Zeal blades, while they do an excellent job of anywhere there's paint, right at the leading edge and at the trailing edge in the mold where the paint is not applied, I've got my continuity meter here, is we're going to touch the leading edge here, and you'll hear that going off. Now we have continuity across the leading edge. Why is that going to be an issue? Well, as you can see on Rich's build here that we've completed, we actually are going to have one positive trace on the top, one negative trace on the bottom, and our copper traces connecting the LEDs and resistors are going to wrap around the leading edge. If we would happen to get a short across that leading edge, we would wreck either our whole system or possibly burn up the battery. So what we've done versus some of the bigger blades where a lot of guys will spray paint them, we've simply taken some Scotch tape and we've cut and measured an exact length, and I don't know if you can see it here in the lighting, is we've wrapped the leading edge any place where our copper trace is going to wrap around on the leading edge. The copper trace we'll be using for this build is Dollhouse 1/8 inch copper trace, very thin, very lightweight. It is adhesive, however the adhesive is also electrically conductive. So this is again the reason for the tape on the leading edge. The setup we will be using is a simple battery connector, a single cell LiPo, and a small switch with a common center and the power leads on the outside. And the reason why we've done this, if we can show this, is that as in the off position here, if I can show you this little tab of the unbuilt blade, we will need some way to charge our blades without having to remove the battery and check balance every time. So what we have come up with is gator clips. When we're on the deal, it'll allow us to clip onto there, if I can get it to stick here, and of course, you know, you'll have these set up like that, and that'll allow us to charge the blades. And what this does is this little tab back here will be on the positive side, and when the switch is in this position, the off position for the lights, it opens up the charge circuit. Now when we switch the switch the other direction, that completes the circuit going out to our lights and theirs. So the negative to the battery is straight to the bottom side of the blades, and the positive side is isolated to this switch so that we can switch between on LED lights, off, and turns on the charging circuit, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to show you now real quick is what we've set up for applying your copper trace. I've got a couple blades done here already, and we're getting ready to do this set here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of our copper traces here, and what I've done is measured 14 millimeters from the back of the leading edge, and depending on your blade size, of course, if you're doing oxys that should work great, but if you're doing something else this could also apply. What that does is that sets our copper trace up roughly in about the center of the blade. It's not going to change the CG this direction on the blade much, and allows our LED lights to be placed roughly on top of the center of lift so that we're not interfering with the aerodynamics of the blade much, and this actually works out pretty well. Don't worry about cutting this too long, because it's better to have more and cut and just what I'll show you here, and just run some extra. So that's plenty extra. We're going to line up on our first 14 millimeter mark there. We'll run the copper trace, the backing off of our trace here, and you'll see as I bent it over itself, it got a little wavy. Not to worry. Round toothpick will take care of that here in just a second, and we'll show you that. And I'm going to line up on my other 14 millimeter marks. I have one here that's kind of smeared and one right over there. And we're going to go ahead and try to stick that down as straight as we can without a lot of waves. And then we're going to come over here and grab our toothpick, round side, and just run the as many creases as we can while keeping the blades the trace as straight as possible.
No, gotta be careful using a toothpick. Matt broke my really expensive toothpick earlier in this project.
Yeah, pushed a little too hard on something trying to move an LED light. You know, those expensive toothpicks, you can only get so many of them. And there you have it. So we're not going to go into every detail. But what we've done here now is I've gone ahead and measured this blade where I know I'd like it. I'm using my guides here on the table for measurements. Measure from the tip off of this side. If I'm doing anything with the caliper, I place the caliper on the outside line, so all my LED lights will line up in the exact same spot, both to keep balance the same, but also to keep that when the disc is arcing, that both blades have the lights in the exact same location. This creates that you don't get a blurry line effect or a pulsing effect on your lights. You'll have clean line disc all the way around. And the other thing it does is both our blades should be balanced in exactly the same spot. So I've already measured this one here to show you how to cut it. Measured and cut here, so when you, like I said, extra is okay. We go ahead and just peel our extra off. And the one thing I should also mention is these blades are cleaned with alcohol prior to us starting this, because it is critical that you don't have any oil. You don't want these things coming apart in flight. And we will also be using some CA, thin CA in certain locations, key locations, to keep anything from peeling. So that's it for right now. We're going to go ahead and continue the video into segment 3, where we'll actually be doing our copper trace and showing the soldering of the LED lights.